So this question was asking you to evaluate the individual differences approach to psychology. Now you need, because it's out of 6 marks, it's 3 for a strength and 3 for a weakness. Now you are evaluating the approach. So basically, the individual differences approach says that behaviour is unique, says that everyone's thinking and behaviour is different, says that you can measure behaviour with psychometrics and that behaviour is caused by dispositional factors. So you're evaluating that, whether that is a good explanation for behaviour or not, and also the way that they kind of conduct their research and the kind of data they collect and stuff like that. Now you need to use Creek, and this is an example of the Creek that you can use. So we've got here one strength of the individual differences approach is that it often has practical applications. So you can use it in the real world. So it says here this means the results from the studies within this approach, I've linked it back to the approach here, can be used in the real world to benefit society. So that's kind of like the P bit of when you're peeing. For example, a study of Baron Cohen found that people with autism had impaired theory of mind as they scored significantly lower on the ICE test than normal people or people with Tourette's. So I've put some evidence in there to support the point that I'm making, and then this can be practically applied to help teachers and carers of people with autism so they know how to communicate effectively, such as not using sarcasm and jokes that require theory of mind. In conclusion, now a lot of people miss this off. You have to link back to the question, otherwise you're talking about the studies and you're not talking about the actual approach. So therefore this approach is useful because it's got those practical applications. Now, a weakness of the individual differences approach is that it often uses case study methodology. If you're trying to say that somebody's behaviour is because they're different to everybody else, then you're going to need to study that one person in depth. Because of the assumptions of the individual differences approach, it makes sense to use a case study methodology. So they often use those. Now, this means that its explanations about behaviours may lack validity because case studies are only often on an individual or small group of people. So the results can't be generalised to everybody. So, for example, Freud studied one individual boy's little hands and his phobia of horses. Whilst the Oedipus complex or explanation of his phobia may be valid, it may not be the case for every individual with a phobia, as they may have different explanations. And particularly, with this approach anyway, it says that everyone's got a different explanation, so you can't really kind of investigate it that well. So therefore the approach is limited at explaining everyone's behaviour. It can probably explain the people that it's investigating, but perhaps not applicable to everybody else. So the approach itself becomes limited and less valid at explaining behaviour. You don't want to keep saying valid all the time, so try and use different words like useful and limited, credible, things like that. But you've got to link back to the approach, otherwise you won't get the marks for the questions. So all that there gets you 6 marks. So it's not even that much that you've got to write, really. Just as long as you're doing the kind of Creek point, you will get the marks in the question.